What's going on, Jeromes? It's time for 5 good questions. Thanks for everyone who submitted questions on the Q&A. First up is from K Fizzle. Let's get paid. First words of Jordan Addison as a Viking when he got drafted. Let's get paid. Do you think Vikings need to pay JJ his premium to set a precedent? We will pay our great players. JJ deserves quarterback level money. I mean, maybe. I feel like teams, they send a good message when they take care of their guys and they treat their players fairly. I mean, that does resonate in the locker room. Now, players, they're very aware of everyone else's money, but also it's sort of seen as gauche to talk about another player's money in the media. But I'm sure all of them talk about it amongst themselves. So, yeah, if a team takes care of one of their tentpole players, it is very important. Plus, JJ, I mean, Jefferson may want to take a little bit less, or a little bit less than his market, which, I mean, JJ certainly is worth like Derek Carr money. But even if he wanted to do that, agents and the NFLPA very much are always pushing to get every single last dollar because it sets precedent for future clients and as well as future players. And that's something, I think it was Peyton Manning, where he talked about he had a duty to future contracts and future quarterbacks and future players to max out every single dollar, because every single dollar that doesn't go to the players goes to the owners. It's kind of weird. But, taking care of JJ is a good precedent for Addison. And can you imagine like 2 receivers on tier 1 contracts? It'd be a good problem to have, and we'll get there in a couple years. Next up, Knack Dog. I just read a report saying it would cost the Vikings 3 first-round picks to move from 11 to 3. What are your thoughts on that compensation? Too high? ? So, yeah, that's a general thought. And when the Niners moved from 12 to 3 back in the day to take Trey Lance, which did not work out in 2021, it was roughly 3 first-round picks to make that leap. And if the Patriots are open to dealing 3, I mean, it sort of is what it is. Oh, but the Vikings could have lost a couple more games, got 3. But they didn't. So accept reality on reality's terms. And if you're completely sold, like I don't think they trade up to 3 unless Kirk is gone. So if Kirk leaves and go get your guy. And Williams probably goes 1, May probably goes 2, or hell, Jaden Daniels could go 2. And if you're sold either way on May or Daniels, or I actually think after throwing at the combine, McCarthy may sneak up even higher in the conversation. Who knows, man? But so if you're trading up to 3 for like May or McDaniels or Daniels, or if you're trading up to say 8 for McCarthy, I mean, you got to be all in. And yeah, future first round picks do suck, but guess what? If you are good, which you're projected to be, and with your starting quarterback on his rookie contract, I mean, not having first-round picks, which ideally are going to be late first-round picks, ain't that big of a deal. Plus, you're going to have a lot more cap space to supplement your rookie starting quarterback. So that's a bit of a trade-off in that spot. Next up, Balo. How much money would say Justin Madubuike or Jalen Johnson would get if they signed with the Vikings? Do you think they would like to come to Minnesota? Well, I think free agency, you talk about loyalty. I will go wherever they value loyalty the most. And if the Vikings move on from Kirk and maybe Daniil, I mean, the Vikings are going to have quite a bit of money to throw around, and Madubuike would be fantastic. I loved him at Texas A&M. He's really grown and shown into one of the best defensive interiors in the game, both against the run as well as obviously rushing the passer, double digits this year. So, I mean, Madubuike's market value estimation is at 20.3. That may actually go up with the salary cap increase, larger than what was projected. So, I would rather pay Madubuike at his age 22 million per year versus Chris Jones at 30. And then Jalen Johnson, 15-16 million bucks is roughly the going rate for tier 1 cornerbacks, and Jalen is a true belt buckle to belt buckle alpha traveling cornerback 1. He's a ball hawk too. I mean, the pride of Utah is really getting things done, man. So they would be expensive, but they would be cornerstone pieces on that defense. And it would be the equivalent of like when the Vikings landed Pat Williams / Linval along the defensive line, or when the Vikings signed Antoine Winfield Jr. Stylistically, not a perfect match for all of them, but it would be as impactful as when the Vikings pulled that off. Blake Kettler. If Kirk were to retire tomorrow, would you still remember me? What would be his legacy as a Viking ranked in quarterbacks all time for Vikes Ring of Honor status? So if Kirk left tomorrow and he was done with the Vikings, he would be seen as like a Trent Green type quarterback, where very good, but not necessarily tied to postseason success. Well, with him as a starting quarterback, he won a ring in '99 with the Rams, but big time stats, some decent wins, much better than average, and frankly, given the Vikings sort of sorted quarterback history, he probably slot in at 2 or 3. Tarkenton's 1. Even though in my heart Joe Cap is number 1, but I mean Cap didn't play long enough to really register on the all-time list. Tommy Kramer would be up there. Dante would be up there. But I think that you would. I mean, Dante could have been MVP in 2004, except for Peyton Manning went off. So I think that Dante's heights were higher than Kirk Cousins, but I think Kirk was consistently upper echelon versus Dante was erratic at times especially before his knee blew up. So I would actually put Tark 1, Cousins 2, Dante 3, Kramer 4. And the Vikings pantheon of quarterbacks. Also, what's your ceiling and floors on the Wolves and Twins this in your opinion? Ceiling for the Wolves, I think title, because you're not really scared of anyone from the East, and the Wolves have shown that they're good to go against the East to a degree. Although, it still hurts giving away that one against the Celtics back in the day. Although Conley and Gobert were sitting, and then that just giving away against the Bucks, that one sucked. But overall, I think that the Wolves. There's another Wolves question, so we'll get into more in depth there. But I think that there's no reason why they couldn't have a one-off title, like the Raptors a couple of years ago or the Bucks recently. And floor, I do think that they will make the Western Conference Final. I think that's the minimum. And then they're going to square up against the Clippers, who maybe flip a switch into playoff mode. That are veteran-laden team, or the Thunder would be a tough one too, or maybe Denver gets their ish together. Who knows? Twins, ceiling, winning the division, and probably a one and done in the playoffs. Floor, I think that with the Central being so weak all around, I think their floor is maybe 4th place. Yeah, but I mean it's so disheartening, man. After a big-time fun season last year, just doing nothing to improve this team, that's rough. And if you're Carlos Correa, you're just this is not what I signed up for. So he may be traded mid-season too. Speaking of the Wolves, R3, how much fun is it seeing the Wolves playing a more traditional style of basketball? Do you think the NBA likes this look, having multiple big men playing D, or would they rather have a fast-breaking style team with LeBron taking 5 steps and 2 hops to get a dunk? Well, I do think that the NBA is going to have a pendulum swing here very soon and putting more of an emphasis on defense and sort of loosening up the rules a little bit, because I think the All-Star game was the breaking point for Adam Silver. I think he realizes that just running down the floor, chucking up shots, not playing defense, and also the fact that there's been 4 or 5 60-point scorers this year. Can't have that. I feel like Luka Doncic is talented, yes, but I mean if he played in a different era, he would get his lunch eaten. Same thing with SGA. And what really sucks is that Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns are stars, especially Ant, but they do not get the star whistle. And it's also the free throw discrepancy at the end of the Bucks game was just pathetic, right? But the Wolves, I feel like they are more of an old school throwback team. They are the best defensive team in the league. They do like to play big at times with Cat and Gobert on the floor. Plus, you can bring in Naz Reid, who can play inside, outside, which is huge. And I'm really bullish on the future of this team. Maybe they don't win a title this year, but they will contend heavily for the next couple of seasons as they have most of their core sutured up. Plus, Conley just signed an extension. Anthony Edwards is very much open to staying in Minnesota, which is fantastic. And I think that they will build a super team here, a homegrown, as opposed to just bringing in free agents and whatever. But it's weird because you look at the NBA over/under numbers, and like a low over number is like what, 228.5. Where you look at some of the games from the 90s and early 2000s, like you're seeing final scores of like 93-87 in like big time games. You're just like, wow, what the hell happened? Like, I don't know. But I think that they will rein in scoring a little bit. Plus, it's like in the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king. And I feel like the Wolves being one of the only teams that play good lockdown defense, I think that could give them a huge advantage in the playoffs. Yeah, especially, so it proves that they're a young team, and like the lapses of concentration, especially in the third, fourth quarter, are killer. But no, I think that with stars like Edwards and Cat, a guy like Conley to regulate things and keep things moving in the interim, as well as Gobert is just an absolute force on the inside, and also all the role players. I mean, they have a chance to be very, very special, man. And also, financially, it would behoove them to win the division, the conference, and the entire league, which would be fantastic for me. And lastly, quest for adventure. While I respect your privacy, I can't help but worry about my favorite YouTuber. Just want to know if you're doing okay and how things are going with whatever the health issue is. Prayers up for you and the family. So we sort of talked around it, like. We haven't gone into full details, but I'm doing a lot better. It does have to do with my back, but yeah, feeling pretty good. Still cranking things out. It's a fun time of year with free agency and the draft, and so thanks for all the prayers up and well wishes, and also the super chats and the Venmos, and you guys are the best. So yeah, I can't ask for a better community, and yeah, toughing through, gutting through it. We'll be good to go. So that's it. Q&A for today. You guys are the best. Skull production value.